seems like the question has come down to two countries. Will you be Korea or Japan, video game player? Which way will you go with your dollars? And that's the thing that's moving the entire video game industry, the dollars that are being spent on these games. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with these two video games that are coming out in the near future. One that has already released from a Japan studio, Bandai Namco, known as Unknown 9, that's supported by consultancy firms like Sweet Baby Inc. that have stirred up a controversy throughout the United States and globally with their interactions with video game developers and producing content that is against the gamers themselves and their overall sensibilities. Then you have Korea, who's developing a game called Stellar Blade that is going in pursuit of the sensibilities of video game players and satisfying their aesthetic beauty taste as well as their thirst for good gameplay. And that is what we see in Stellar Blade. And we have these tale of two games competing against each other with differing ideologies that are being implemented and gaining a different fan base from each side. And I think that's what we're seeing now with the choice here, Korea or Japan, because Japan has apparently followed the Western way in development of video games, getting the majority of its funding from investment banks from the Western world and following those standards. If you know anything about Bandai Namco has been heavily investing in a lot of these Western ideological standards because they're getting a lot of money from these investment banks that kind of have these ESG, DEI policy standards that you have to adhere to in order to get low interest on the loans that you receive from these companies. And I think that is what we're seeing with Bandai Namco, where it's absorbing all the Western influences when it comes to DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion policies that kind of changed the overall look of the video game industry, where it's more focused on how the characters look and how they relate to modern day influences rather than the fantasy or gameplay mechanics that gamers actually want to see. And I think that is the result of what we have here with Unknown 9, which is a game that has come out recently to a lot of critical backlash because people hate the association that it has with Sweet Baby Inc. because Sweet Baby Inc. is promoting this as one of their shared narrative design experiences that they had heavy influence over, and it rightfully so has received a not recommend on the Steam Detected Curator that has recently amassed over 322,000 followers. It's becoming a juggernaut of a curator where many people are following its not recommended list, and it is growing in popularity enough where many studios are trying to avoid association with Sweet Baby Inc. and the Steam Detected Curator. And I think this is a success story for people who are tired of the influence of Western ideologues that have influenced the video game industry, where we have a curator that is gaining so much popularity that is striking fear into the video game industry with being associated with any type of consultancy firm that has the ideology that kind of starkly goes against what video game players actually want to see in the games that they play. And I think Unknown 9 is the first victim of that. After its release, it has been slaughtered by reviews, by overall not recommends on different curators, and overall has been shunned by the video game industry when it comes towards the video game players themselves actually purchasing the game. We won't have the numbers yet, but we already know the frustration from the developers themselves, who've been banning anyone who's mentioned anything related to Sweet Baby Inc. within their forums. And it's just showing there's a sensitivity around being associated with this consultancy firm. And I think that is the thing that is scaring everybody within the gaming industry right now, that people are aware of what's happening and they're taking some action against it. And I think what we're seeing on the opposite end with a game like Stellar Blade is that we're seeing people receptive to something that is old school and back to the basics of what gamers want to see. They want to see a beautiful game with great aesthetics and overall looks that are attractive, that pull them into the game, and also gameplay mechanics that are actually geared towards their sensibilities. I think that's what Stellar Blade is perfecting in their release of this game, where it is grabbing the attention of the gamer through aesthetics first, but it's showing gameplay mechanics that are old school that people are attracted to, that want to play games, and are driving them to the point of actually purchasing and pre-ordering a game in an age where pre-orders are something you avoid because most games are broken, but people are now foregoing that thought process, are now pre-ordering this game in droves, and it's changing the overall video game industry in such a way where people that have been staunchly against this game have to fold and say, okay, we kind of like this game, so please look at our articles and reviews about this game or anything relating to this game. So people like Kotaku, PC Gamer, they've been hating this game since they've seen the demo, since they've seen the introduction trailer of this game and the attractiveness of this particular main character Eve, and then they had to change their tune because most people are enjoying the overall look of this game. And I think that is a testament to what's happening in the gaming industry, where gamers are pushing their influence further and they're not taking anything from these people that are trying to manipulate their perspective on what's good or bad. And I think that comes down to the choice that the Western gamer has to choose from. Is it going to be Korea or is it going to be Japan? Japan has succumbed to the influence of the Western development space, choosing to go with the standards that kind of ruin multiple developing studios like Forspoken and Luminous that was under Square Enix, and doing something similar to what Volition did to Saints Row, where that development studio went bankrupt. That's the choice that Japan has chosen. It has chosen to go down that path of no return and bankruptcy, and I think Korea is doing the opposite. It's going for the gamers, and the gamers always lead to a win. And I think that's the failure of Japan, of choosing the choice against the gamers. And hopefully this is something that will change over time with Japan. They'll be able to adapt and maybe pivot back in such a way where they're in line with Korea, where Korea is mostly focused on making money in games. And if you want to make money in games, make things for the gamers. And I think that is the choice right now between East and West. Make games for the gamers like Korea, or make games for ideologues that hate games. And I think that's the choice Japan made, and it was the worst choice they've made in a long time. But you tell me what your thoughts are on this situation. Do you think that dichotomy is true, Korea and Japan? Japan choosing the false choice of going on with Western developers, and Korea going its own way? I think that is the choice that we have as gamers ourselves. We can follow the Western developers, or we can follow some Eastern developers like Korea and even China as well. So I think we are going to choose the right way, which is the path of the gamers. And unfortunately, there's going to be some companies that are going to choose the wrong way, like Bandai Namco. So you tell me your comments on the situation. What do you think about what's going on in the video game industry? Do you think the video game industry is going to go the path of Korea or the path of Japan? I think we're decidedly going the path of Korea, and I think there's no turning back for anyone that's going the path of Japan. But you leave your comments, tell me what you think about the situation. Like, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.